Now to the fallout from comedian Jimmy Kimmel's comments about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk and ABC pulling Kimmel's show off the air. President Trump suggesting the government might revoke the broadcast licenses of TV networks that are, in his words, against him. Now, that followed a suggestion from Trump's FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, that ABC station licenses could be at risk. Wall Street Journal now reporting that Kimmel was planning to address Carr's comments on his show on Wednesday night, but after meeting with Kimmel, Disney Entertainment executive Dana Walden thought Kimmel's approach could actually inflame that situation. The Journal saying that Walden met with Disney CEO Bob Iger, and the two executives decided to pull Kimmel's show. That was literally as the audience was getting ready to apparently walk in, taking the White House to task for this alleged censorship. There's been a whole number of comedians saying all sorts of things. I want to show you what Stephen Colbert had to say about it.
If ABC thinks that this is going to satisfy the regime, they are woefully naive. And clearly, they've never read the children's book, If You Give a Mouse a Kimmel.
Okay, so I haven't got to see you.
No.
In a good 48 hours.
No.
Maybe more.
I haven't.
So tell me what you think.
I'm not going to, move into a corner and completely, as I say, back myself into a corner. I don't like that they didn't let him implode on his own, which I think he was in the process of doing. I think we can all agree that the comments themselves, in the words of the Journal, false, callous, and stupid, or at least obnoxious. He certainly could have apologized, I think. Disney, and when guys like Sonnenfeld start making sense to me, I have a problem. He said Iger did absolutely the right thing based on brand damage, with or without Brendan Carr and FCC. And that's the thing that we forget is those next star stations are in places where, I don't know, there's probably 30 of them, right, and they're not in the big cities. And I think that if they had just left him on, that ratings would have imploded, the groundswell would have gotten even greater as it does. Now, you've basically created a martyr for the left. The right has, it has just been a little bit over a week since poor Charlie was assassinated, fired upon, not fired, as right, someone over at Fox said. And now each side, there are people who mourn what happened to Charlie Kirk, and there's people who mourn what happened to Jimmy Kimmel, and I don't think there's a lot of overlap there, which is sad. Now, I'm not going to say there's people celebrating. There are, but I'm not going to say celebrating what happened to Charlie Kirk. And then there are people celebrating what happened to Jimmy Kimmel, and I'm not going to say I'm one of them, but I'm pretty damn close. Here's the thing about Brendan Carr is he has teeth. Because the FCC on public airwaves, they can do things. And you could make an argument that Jimmy Kimmel hasn't told a joke since Trump came down that escalator. It's been 10 years since he told a normal joke. And is that okay for all the next star people in the middle of the country that are watching? And supposedly the public interest has to be part of what you do on public airwaves. Was their entire side ever represented on Jimmy Kimmel? Was he trotted out? Jasmine Crockett, Adam Schiff, Barack Obama. Every night, never Ted Cruz, never a conservative has graced the set of Jimmy Kimmel. Is that okay? That's okay. I don't give a crap. I'm asleep. But I just wish they would have let this all happen on its own. Are we headed for the UK? I know you're worried about. See, you know why I have a lot of hair? Because even when Biden was doing things, I never really set it on fire.
Right.
And the other
towards the UK, is that what you said?
I don't think we're headed to that model. In fact, Trump and the vice president are both over there complaining about what goes on with free speech over in the UK. Hopefully, we're not headed there. I don't think we are at this. But I don't want next on my Twitter feed, I don't want genocide to the Jews on there. So I'm starting to think there is a time and place where anything doesn't go. You know what I mean? It's anything goes. Do you think that we should regulate parts of the social media world more than we are right now? I think maybe we should. I mean, starting to think that maybe we should.
And
I'm glad you really, Penelope sent me something about when you listen, you've been listening the entire time, and I admire this a lot, and now I'm going to let you talk, and I'm going to listen the entire time. I might be making faces, and I might be hand motions that probably are inappropriate at this hour, but I'm going to let you.
So I think you and I will agree that there's something amiss in social media land. That, to me, is the
I'm nodding.
Is the lowest hanging fruit,
and somewhat to blame for the mess we're in.
I think a lot to blame for the mess we're in and the polarization that we're in and the idea that we're getting misinformation and being polarized and being pushed to different sides and all of those things, 100%. And I think that the extremeness of everything is what seems to work on social media, and so we're getting reinforced with all of that. So I think we agree that there's something wrong in social media that's not good.
Unfortunately, it's what's wrong in ourselves. At least some of us in this.
Sure. Oh, I think we're to blame. I mean,
right.
But I also think that systems they're creating an addiction because they know how to take advantage of us.
They exacerbate it.
They do.
Exacerbate. Someone once said exacerbate.
They do. And then the second question, I don't know if I agree about the free speech is a very interesting idea. I believe in free speech, and I believe that folks who can sit on the corner and scream their head off and do all those types of things. Then there's the question of whether it gets echoed and amplified in all sorts of other ways, whether, here on cable or whether it's a broadcast network or whatnot, versus social media. Is there a difference? I think there probably is in some responsibility. I don't think that Jimmy Kimmel's comments were good comments. They were
much worse than social media.
Were terrible.
Well, they were.
But on the larger question about the FCC and how they regulate speech and different kinds of speech, I always thought it was the FCC's job to get involved when. Do you remember when there was the Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction at the Super Bowl?
Complete accident.
And that, whether it was an accident or not, with Justin Timberlake, there was a view at that time that the public should not have been seeing a nude breast during the Super Bowl.
It wasn't totally nude. It was pasty.
It was. And that was something that, to me, if the FCC wanted to get involved, that sort of made sense. But I'm not sure.
Now you sound like the conservatives that you don't like.
But I'm not sure.
You see a little T, and that's bad. But talking about some poor guy that got his head blown off.
No. What I'm saying is that the idea of policing a certain type of speech, and for companies, look, I agree with you. Nexstar, I think there's two things going on with Nexstar, and this is why everything's not always black and white. I think
understand.
Nexstar has that deal in front of the FCC, and so they're thinking about Trump and the way he thinks about it. And there's also the commercial interests that I think that weighed on this. By the way, I think that clearly is what weighed on Sinclair, I imagine, and also the politics of Sinclair itself.
And I don't know whether Disney's got anything pending, but they certainly were worried. I think they were certainly worried about brand damage, and I think that they've
got Fubu.
Yeah,
the sports network.
But I don't think. I think that this almost, they're like, God, this is great. We get to do this and blame it on Trump, and we were going to do it anyway because this guy is starting to be more of a problem.
You think that Disney was going to take out Kimmel anyway?
Someday.
Oh, someday, yes.
And I still think Kimmel's coming back next week.
I think Kimmel might come back.
I think he's coming back next week. And like I said, the applause will make Colbert's reception at the Emmys look tame. There people be hanging from the rafters cheering on the hero, Jimmy Kimmel, who is not Lenny Bruce.